Well, good afternoon. I'm recording this for you on actually Good Friday, but we're planning to put it out on Saturday, as I thought it would be very hard for me to get to the Easter message, and yet I wanted to share with you some of the good news. So I recently found this statement: regardless of what the world will do on April 12th this year, Easter will not be canceled, and I love that. Our Easter story is more than what any virus could ever do. And so it opens the door to new promise and possibility. A favorite sermon I once heard years ago was simply titled, "It's Friday, but Sunday's Coming." And I want you to hold on to that. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming. And so as a part of this year, we have invited you for Easter this year. Go out and pick up a rock, something that you value. What I love about rocks is you never know what's inside them until you really take a look. Find a rock. I collect them. Sometimes you cut them open and polish the other side, and this is what you get. But we're inviting you to pick up a rock and take it home with you, sit with it at worship as we make reference to it, and we hope you'll hold on to that and bring it with you when we are finally able to come back together and worship together as the people of God, a community of faith here in our Trinity Sanctuary. So remember that, regardless of what the world does, Easter will not be canceled this Sunday. We just do it a little different. And so as part of that, I bring to you today a simple verse from Joshua, the first chapter, the 9th verse. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And I want us to hold on to that as well. God will be with us wherever we go. So as we come together today, some thoughts. I'm actually praying that as you're staying at home, this is providing for you some time to connect with family and friends in ways you haven't done in a long time. It's slowed down the pace. It's invited you to find a way to reach out to people you haven't talked to for a while. I've been reaching out to all of my siblings and talking at least once a week, where oftentimes we can go months without touching base. We talk with our kids at least a couple times a week and schedule some times just to connect with the grandkids. So I invite you to do that. A number of years ago, I took 2 nights away at a place called Pacham in Terrace. It was a hermitage to be all by yourself. And during that time, I read a book or parts of a book called Pustinia, Encountering God in Silence, Solitude, and Prayer. It's by Catherine Doherty. And in there, this quote stood out to me, and I brought it home. There is no solitude without silence. True silence is sometimes the absence of speech, but it is always the act of listening. The mere absence of noise, which is empty of our listening to the voice of God, the mere absence of noise is not silence. That a day filled with noise and voices can be a day of silence if the noises become for us the echo of the presence of God. And so I'm really hoping and praying that in these times of quietness and being at home, you will find some time to really strongly connect with God and the wonder of that relationship that God offers to each of you. Some of you maybe have heard this by now. It is a poem by Kitty O'Meara. She has been labeled the Poet Laureate of the pandemic for this year. But she wrote a poem that's been going around. It's not from 1869, but rather from March of 2020. And it goes like this. And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still. And they listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows. And people began to think differently, and people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully, just as they had been healed. So I hope this can be for all of us a time of great healing, of connection with the story of God's great love, the story that is Easter, a story of sacrifice for the sake of others, that we have seen reflected for us on a regular basis through our first responders and the people who care. And so what I would ask for you today as we move toward Easter, I'd invite you to lift up those who are our first responders, those who are our doctors and our nurses, our EMTs and paramedics, those who are chaplains, those who are caregivers in senior living centers, firemen, policemen, our grocery store workers, our pharmacists, teachers, paraprofessionals, daycare providers, cooks, bus drivers, house cleaners, hospital staff, our various clinics. Think of all of our truck drivers, the construction workers, restaurant workers and servers, postal workers, garbage collection workers, and the list goes on and on. Those people that we come to count on for the life that we live, and they serve faithfully, diligently, day in and day out, and especially at this time, at risk of their own lives. They deserve our prayers, and they are for all of us examples of Christ's sacrifice that is reflected in the story of Easter. I know that we will get through to the other side. We just have to hang in there together. We have to be diligent and take actions and make decisions for the most vulnerable among us. And thank God for all those who serve us day in and day out. Please pray with me, and my prayer today is a prayer that most of you probably know, the Serenity Prayer, but you know the first part only, and today I share with you the longer version from Reinhold Niebuhr. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.